Look what just got delivered. Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin, and I'm here to talk about toys. Today, we're doing a modern toy unboxing. I have several toys here that I have been dying to get out of the package and take a look at, but I was leaving in the box so I could film a little mini review, a little reaction. The newest item of these things I want to get out of the package arrived today from Big Bad Toy Store. It's Autobot Cup Triple T. This is part of Hasbro's Transformer GIJoe crossover series that comes with 2 O-ring figures and a transformable GIJoe vehicle into Transformer character. I have all of the sets in this series, but I have never opened any of them before today. I'm opening this one because I'm a huge Sergeant Slaughter fan, and I've been wanting to check out these figures. Plus, more to come. I'm going to start this episode with a McFarlane DC toy. This is a Nightfall Bane and Batman set that I have been wanting to get out of the package since the day I bought them. Nightfall was a huge storyline during my childhood. The death of Superman was a big deal, but this was more important to me because I had a more personal connection to Nightfall, being a bigger Batman fan and knowing some of the people that worked on this series. I collect Bane pretty extensively. I don't have every version of Bane ever. I'm not like that hyper, but I do love picking up Bane figures, especially when they're based on that Nightfall look. The set includes a battle-damaged Batman and a Bane with cell shading. It's an odd choice they didn't put the cell shading on both or leave it off both. But it might be that they're both have some repaint options there where they'll release this Bane figure without the cell shading and maybe they'll release this Batman without the battle damage if the battle damage is not sculpted on. Obviously his face is sculpted, but I'm not sure about the rips in his suit yet because I haven't actually got my hands on it. The back of the box features some artwork, which was the cover of the issue where Bane breaks Batman's back. That artwork was by Kelly Jones and John Beatty. So I've got Batman out of the package, and his cape has wires in it. That's going to help with posing him in a dynamic stance. His face does have a nasty scowl on it, and he's got like a busted up lip. It does seem like the battle damage on his body is just paintwork. So they can definitely use this body again, or this is a repainted body, which makes sense for a lot of these 2-pack kind of things. I love having the black on the inside of the cape and the blue on the outside. It's very striking. Overall, this seems like a decent figure. He's got good articulation. He looks pretty good. Obviously, you can't use him for anything other than a beat-up Batman, but I think this would make a great regular Batman if you got the repaint that has a different head. He does come with some additional hands. This Batman comes out of the package with 2 accessory holding hands. He has 2 sets of fists, as well as 2, like, gnarly grappling hands, like fighting back, as well as a batarang, kind of the standard Batman accessory. He looks pretty good. He also comes with a figure stand. I like this figure a lot, but I want to see him with the Bane, and if we can get him into any kind of good poses. Oh, I forgot about that McFarlane toe articulation. I have not bought a McFarlane superhero from this scale since, like, the first wave. I had the Batman animated series, Batman, I think the Harley Quinn, and maybe Superman from those really early waves. And I thought the toe articulation was unnecessary, and I still might. Bane is a massive figure. He's got kind of a small head for his body and pretty much no neck. That works for like a roided out guy, but I don't think it really matches the artwork from the era. His head was small, but he had a neck. So this almost seems like this was like a compromise sculpt, maybe kind of somewhere between 2 different versions of Bane. And, you know, for this set that he's been painted this way. I don't know for sure. His hair on his arms and stuff is all just like paintwork, but that looks really good. Adds a little extra detail to him there. And then, of course, like I said, he's got that cell shading. He does come with a figure stand, the same size as Batman. I don't know if a large figure like this is going to get held up by a stand this small. He comes with a set of hands that are open, grasping for, you know, breaking Batman's back. He also comes with some fists. I'm a little nervous about this arm here. He's like straight out of the package. I haven't even played with him yet, and that arm is just drooping. That's kind of a quality control issue that I'm not wild about. And I don't even think it's the wire forcing it back down, although it could be. So the breaking the bat pose with one leg up is a little tricky. The set does come with a little trading card there, like all the McFarlane things do. Batman vs. Bane, Batman Nightfall, data file. So I'm looking at him here, trying to capture the look of this. It's also interesting because in the comic cover, he doesn't have the singlet on. He's just wearing pants. But he doesn't have, like, the suspenders on. So I'm trying to get his leg. I don't know. It's hard to say what position he's in. Did he kneel down to do this? Or did he just, like, bring his knee up? I don't know if he's going to stand on one foot with this base here to then be able to put Batman over his knee. Yeah, good luck here. Oh, he's standing for a second there anyway. And then Batman, oh, he does have a good ab crunch that goes back pretty far, because that's kind of essential to this pose. Batman is really jerked backwards here. He needs his legs to bend down pretty far. Batman's cape's actually not very visible in this cover. It's really kind of pressed in there. He needs those, well, you got to switch out the hands to the like gnarly begging for mercy or clawing at the opponent hands to do this. Hands aren't too bad to take on and off. I think this Batman with the cell shading could have looked really nice to make him match the comic art cover a little bit more. The coloring of this figure probably matches the interior of the comic pretty well. The inking style, the art and ink style with Jim Aparo on the inside compared to Kelly Jones on the outside was pretty different. Alright, so then Bane needs a hand basically on his neck and a hand on his other leg. I will break you. Not bad. I don't know if it would actually stay like that if I put some poster tack on him. But he kind of gets in that pose. Alright. Pretty cool. Since I teased this one heavily at the beginning, I don't want to push this off to the end of the video. Time to check out Cup, Sergeant Slaughter, and Leatherneck. Here's our carded Joes in their package. They look pretty good. The cards are unfortunately kind of thin. This is not really card corrected like the classified retro series. They do have file cards on the back. It's very little information in multiple languages. I do like that the bottom of the card back has the artwork from the box. And it looks like they used the artwork for the 25th anniversary figure there on the front. And it looks like my rivets are correct. My buddy Tony from RetroCon got his with one of the rivets backwards on the shoulder, which kind of hurts the look of the character. Leatherneck appears to be using his original card art there on the front of his card. Same thing on the back file card with the multiple languages and the box art. Thank goodness there's directions here. I know straight out of the package, Cup is not completely transformed into an Autobot. There's no feet here. Alright, now I've got feet, which I didn't actually need the instructions for. He has some extra chunks here, some extra track. I don't know if those connect and disconnect from the sides here, so he has less kibble on him when he's a Transformer. He can hold the Triple T's weapons, which is kind of cool. And I think there's a place for the missiles to clip on his back, according to the instructions that I looked at far too briefly. So for everybody that complains I don't do enough Transformers videos, it's because I find it very hard to transform Transformers on camera. They're just not my favorite brand. I never played with them enough as a kid. Some of those simplistic ones from when I was a kid, you just kind of memorize the steps really easy. You know, Vintage Optimus Prime, I can transform with my eyes closed. But whenever I get a new one, I find it super frustrating. I'm trying not to collect a lot of cardboard, but I am saving these card backs at least for now. I just cut the bubble off with a knife. I need to get a sharper utility knife. I think that blade's getting a little dull. That didn't go as easily as I wanted it to. My initial reaction to this Sergeant Slaughter is he's very pink. The flesh tone they used is very bright. I like the look. I like that they went with a more cartoon-accurate color scheme for him, but it's so weird to look at because I'm so used to that original sculpt. That vintage sculpt, that head they used for every single version of him. The removable hat, the sculpt from the version 1 and 2 and version 3 are so close, so identical, that this is just so odd looking. The sunglasses have like different detail to them. The mustache seems smaller. The chest is a little bit smaller and the biceps are a little smaller. It's a little weird. I don't think it's bad, but it's a little weird. I'm putting his baton in his hand. I don't have the baton to any of the older versions. I don't even remember my vintage one having a baton. So I don't know if my dad lost it taking him out of the package when I was a kid, or if I just lost it so fast that I didn't remember that he came with one. I like his boots. They have a little extra paintwork going on them. He's got the camo. He's got the white belt. He just looks great. I love Sergeant Slaughter, one of my favorite characters from GIJoe. And I played with my vintage figure till his arms and his knees and everything went floppy. So I'm really excited to have sort of a more modern Sergeant Slaughter. And I love that O-Ring is back. I am really looking forward to Super 7's O-Ring figures. I have them on order. When they come in, they will be a video talking about the first wave. Classified is fantastic. The figures look really great, but man, 3 3/4 inch O-Ring style figures, that is where my love is. I held out on all the larger scale toys until Motu Classics. That was the toy that finally got me to like break out of the 4-inch figure collecting for the most part, because that was, as an adult collector, I was collecting Star Wars and GIJoe, and that was it. And I didn't buy any Black Series things when they came out because I didn't like that they were larger. And then Motu Classics, because He-Man was never in that scale, I was okay with buying the bigger figures, and that opened me up to just buying collector scale figures. But there's just something magical about the little guys. All right, I got Leatherneck out of the package, and my first initial thought when I looked at him was, he's got no paint on the top of his hat. It is green, but there's no camo on it. I've always found, looking at the variations of the way the V's were painted on the top of his hat on the vintage figures, to be interesting. And then to pull this one out and see no camo there just kind of was a little bit of a shocker. He looks great. Again, not totally the same as the vintage one. I also question if my figure might be assembled wrong. Does he have identical left and right feet? These look like they're switched, just by the way they angle out a little bit. I don't know. I want to kind of compare that to pictures of other Leathernecks on the internet. It's also funny to look at his backpack here. It's a similar design, but it's much larger, probably more in scale with the way the figure should look. And of course his gun is also scaled up. It seems like the handle's awfully big to try and put in his hand. Oh, his thumbs are pretty rubbery. That's a good thing, I guess, with these O-Ring guys. But he looks pretty cool. He also comes with a figure stand, but I dropped it on the floor, taking him out of the package. I like the Joes so far. I can't get over how nice it is to get some O-Ring guys, and I would really love to see some new stuff. I think Super 7, because they like to go deep, I think they'll give us some new stuff. I'm going to hold my thoughts on the initial wave until they come in, but I have some thoughts on kind of their design aesthetic for some of those guys already. These guys look pretty good. They look like a vintage GIJoe, maybe slightly more detailed in a few spots, or a little bit crisper details, like having the rims of Sergeant Slaughter's sunglasses on there. But I think they fit in nicely with the vintage figures. I like that they're made out of a material that doesn't feel as brittle as those vintage figures, because I do worry about my vintage collection just kind of turning to dust someday. So it is fun kind of getting a more modern version of some of these characters that I don't feel bad about posing and photographing and you know, having some fun with. It's nice to have Cup in this big chunky format. The Transformers, vintage Transformers toys and GIJoes don't mix well. None of the vehicles are anywhere big enough, and I like the idea of the Autobots being pretty big compared to humans, and so it's pretty fun to have this scale Transformer here. I do like that a lot. The articulation seems pretty good in him in Autobot mode. I do like that a lot. And then I'm going to convert him over to Triple T. He looks fantastic in Triple T mode. Like, it really does look like the original vehicle. Obviously, with some slight detail differences and some slight deco differences with having the Autobot symbol and things like that. But the engineering is really spot on this. Just for fun, we're going to jump over to a Marvel toy. This is the Shang-Chi Legend of the Ten Rings dragon? I mean, does this thing even have a name on the package? It's so weird. I bought this for $4.99 at Ollie's. When these toys first hit stores, I was tempted to get the dragon. Oh, he's the Great Protector. I really like toys of mythological creatures like hydras and griffins and things like that. So to have this Asian dragon just seemed really cool. You know, it's just sort of a unique style. And I almost grabbed it, and I just didn't. And then all the stuff went on clearance. And then at that point, I just kept passing up on it. And finally, I just decided, you know what? I'm going to get this before somehow they just all vanish. Growing up, my friends and I played with a lot of GIJoe toys and Monsters in My Pockets and, you know, little figurines like Dragon Riders of Sticks kind of stuff, Dungeons & Dragons, lead pewter miniature kind of stuff. So we would have loved to have this big dragon toy. It's not super well articulated. You can put it into a flying pose, sort of tuck the legs in and pretend it's flying, or you can have it stand up. I guess that's kind of the minimum for articulation something like this would need. This could look really good repainted. Even just like a wash on it to bring out the scales a little bit more would be nice. But I could also imagine somebody who's really good at painting completely changing up the color scheme and just doing something really wicked with this. So if you like mythological creatures, don't sleep on this one. Grab one at Ollie's before they're all gone. Prince Adam and Cringer. I was a huge fan of Cringer as a kid. I loved him in the cartoon. Used to take the armor off Battle Cat and pretend Battle Cat was Cringer all the time. And it never quite was good enough. And we've never gotten a really perfect Cringer. I almost bought the Masterverse Battle Cat to get that Battle Cat because his head looked like Cringer without the armor. But it was never quite good enough. There was like a slug baby Cringer in Motu Classics that I enjoy a lot. But when this set was announced, I knew I had to get it. I really like the cartoon collection, but I am hesitant to keep buying Masters of the Universe over and over and over again. I have the vintage figures. I have the classics figures. I have some of the 2000X figures. I have the Origins figures for the most part. I have the Super 7 cartoon versions. I'm just kind of hitting saturation. But these look really good, and I don't see them at retail really at all, although now these have popped up. But I pre-ordered this one. He's been sitting here on a pile waiting to be opened for a little while. Box has beautiful artwork front and back, and the set includes 2 heads for both characters. There's even a little hidden art on the flap here when you open it up. Now, I wasn't dying for a new Prince Adam. The one that came in the Origin set with the Sky sled was pretty good. This one feels very similar to that. It's got a little bit better cartoon likeness versus the sort of toy sculpt of the other one. Was there a Prince Adam from Super 7? I can't remember in their cartoon line, but possibly. He just doesn't feel very unique and new. His body also feels very painted. There's not a lot of plastic on him that feels like it's molded in the correct color, so I wonder if there's going to be a lot of paint wear with the purple and the white arms and things like that. But he does come with an alternate head. I'm going to swap that out. This head is much more stoic and more He-Man looking, whilst this other one is sort of a joyful, laughing He-Man. We all know that the laughing Prince Adam from the What's Going On video is very marketable after Mattel did the meme figure. And I feel like his neck might be a little short. Both heads look a little bit short on that to me. And then the vest does get in the way some for trying to give him sort of like a lounging pose. The plastic makes it tricky to put his hands up behind his head. You can almost do it. To have him sleeping instead of training, as often seemed to be the case in the show. I guess I gotta switch him back to that regular head to do the "by the power of Grayskull" look. And then Cringer. This is fantastic. What a fun, articulated cat body. I wonder if they would do a Panther. Because Panther in the cartoon never seemed quite as big. And they could do a Filmation-style Panther to have laying around Snake Mountain by using this body with a new head, perhaps. They probably won't, but it could be interesting. His joints are really stiff, so I'm trying to get them loosened up a little bit here so I can pose him so he's not seated. Came in the package in a seated pose. Only one articulation point in the tail that goes up and down, but he's got decent articulation in the legs. He's got multiple points in the neck there. This is a very, like, yikes kind of head. Pretty standard, just walking around head. That comes off super easy. And then we can put on the true scaredy cat head here, where he's, yeah, like in shock as the lightning comes from the sword to transform him into Battle Cat. And that's super fun. Love this pair. Jumping back to GIJoe, this time for classifieds. This is the Was Once a Man version of Cobra Commander. The box has this awesome lenticular cover that transforms between Cobra Commander with his snake chest but helmet still on, to the scaly version of his face, to the sort of King Cobra version of him. It's got Roadblock and Falcon and Globulus and Nemesis Enforcer around it on the edges, which looks really cool. When you open it up, it shows an action figure version of Cobra Commander trapped in that clamshell thing, and then the box shows off all the parts contained within. I know I mentioned a minute ago about how I would love to see the O-rings do some stuff they haven't done before. This is an example of that. This is a figure, a highly articulated collector version of a figure, that I wanted as a kid. They could give us some really cool new versions of old characters based on the media. Super 7 has that ability, and I'm really hoping that that's what we get. So this figure is totally inspired by GIJoe the movie, but is not necessarily 100% animation accurate, because Cobra Commander kind of goes through a transformation period in the movie. I don't think he ever loses his sleeves, but he definitely loses a boot at one point. You can remove this piece of tattered shirt from him if you are interested. He does come with a face mask, not meant to be worn, but just as an accessory, because there's the scene where Roadblock is looking at the face mask. And then he also comes with a helmet, so you can convert him for that initial rips open his shirt and you see he's turning into a Snake Man reveal. He's got a knife that fits in a holster on his leg. These are some standard Cobra Commander accessories that they've included here that I believe came with the His Tank version and will probably come with the retro card version. He also comes with a backpack here that can hold his hairdryer, laser gun. The recharging station for that there fits in. He also comes with some hands, so he's got some accessory holding hands on straight out of the package. He's got 2 fists. He's got a globe holding hand, I'll call it, and a pointing hand, which we've seen before with Cobra Commander figures. And then also the amazing accessory that is the full snake form Cobra Commander and sort of that King Cobra look. He's got little tiny snake arms. He's got this body that's wrapped up so he can stand on that coiled. Don't know how well this works for wrapping around a Joe. Maybe just through an arm or something like that. It doesn't look like it's going to fit around somebody's waist, but I'm not totally sure. And maybe you just kind of sling it over somebody's shoulder. Oops, I just knocked his hairdryer gun on the floor. Let me take the backpack off. So if I slip it up an arm, then he can kind of rest on the other shoulder. So he does kind of look like he's coiled around him. It's not quite like in the movie where he's wrapped around Roadblock's waist, but it does work pretty well for an action figure that you can then sit on its own or have coiled around a guy. Like it's a happy medium. Again, like I said, the figure's not 100% cartoon accurate. Very excited to have this guy. He will definitely devalue a little bit the O-ring version if they ever make it. It won't be as exciting because we've never had it before. Do you know what I mean? Like that anticipation of getting a version of a character we've never had. But I still would love an O-ring version of Cobra Commander. Super 7, if you're listening, come on, make it happen. Super glad I was able to get this. He was a pain to get. Maybe he'll get released again. Some of these con exclusive figures have been released a few times. Chuckles wasn't so hard to get later on, so I'm hoping anybody that wants this guy gets him because he's real cool. I've got a ton more stuff over here that I want to open, but I also got to wrap this up so I can edit it. The last thing I'm going to open up today is a Super 7 Ultimates Ninja Turtle figure. I used to buy every single wave completely. I've cut way back from this wave. He was the only one I got. Triceraton. This is a massive, massive figure. I do love that Super 7 is able to make some of the big bad guys big. They do it with the Silverhawks. They're doing it here with Ninja Turtles. And it's really cool. This line really is fantastic. But I feel like it's sort of run its course. Playmate's not letting them do the direct recreations as much as they once were. And Super7's trying to keep fans interested and suck in new people, so they're doing like the 2012 Turtles, or they just did the 2002 Turtles, something like that. They're definitely kind of refreshing and doing those lead characters again, which is great for longevity of the line, but I'm sort of starting to tap out. He is massive! This guy is huge. He's awesome. The spikes are sharp. I really liked the Triceraton figure as a kid. He's just really a nice guy to have the Turtles fight. He's seems as menacing or more than Bebop and Rocksteady. He's got a cool look to him. Who doesn't like dinosaurs? I had no idea the Triceraton were as nearly important to the Ninja Turtle lore as a kid, because they weren't really in the cartoon that much. But they were, big in the comics, and then they kind of were given their due in the 2002 series. This figure looks awesome. Again, like I said, I bought him because he looks just like the vintage figure. NECA had done some Triceraton Warriors, and I skipped them because they just were based on the cartoon, and I don't have as much... I love the cartoon, but I don't have as much nostalgia for some of those one-off characters. But he looks great. He comes with both of his vintage gun accessories. I always thought this was really hard to put in his hand as a kid, this blaster, but I thought this gun looked awesome. So I definitely want to deck him out with that one. He comes with a ton of accessories here. He's got his belt on, and the belt has painted details. The original vintage one was just sort of like a white or a light gray belt. So the rats that hang off his belt are painted, the grenades, the ammo, and everything looks so good. He comes with a ton of extra accessories. He's got, I guess a wrist communicator here that clips on his wrist that this can actually flip open. He's got a space oxygen mask that looks like it's got Triceratops horns on it. I don't know how that fits on him with this strap, but I'm sure I could figure it out. Oh, maybe it unpegs, but it's got a little power pack thing here to clip onto the belt. He's got a sword cuff kind of thing, like a lightsaber cuff, so one of these hands, probably this one that I have the gun in, you could slide that on because it doesn't have the spiky wrist gauntlet. You could slide this on there and clip it on, so he'd have like a space sword. He's got some actual grenades that look like the ones sculpted onto his belt. He also comes with a rat. I don't know if he throws these in battle. I don't know if he eats them for snacks. I'm not really sure why he had rats on his belt. And I don't know if this rat also comes with the future Rat King. This looks like it's got X's on its eyes, so probably not. Probably not a reused accessory. But maybe a reason that Sexy Rat King would go after Triceraton. He also has a couple of different sets of hands. He's got some fists, he's got some accessory holding hands, and he's got some, snarling, reach-out-to-get-you kind of hands. And he looks great. Can I put this in his hand? I actually want to try it with one of these, open grasping hands, because there's just no way to put these kind of D-handle accessories into a character's hand easily. I don't know, these snarly hands are really wide. Oh, that one fits pretty well. It's the same hand I already put the other accessory in, but this one does grip it pretty well, so this is probably the hand that I would use if I wanted to have him dual-wielding his weapons. Triceraton looks fantastic. Whew! I struggled to get this into the Triple T format. Most of the transformation is pretty easy, but I always have trouble pegging everything in at the end, and the front section pegging into the side treads just really gave me a run for my money. It looks pretty good as the Triple T. It's heavier than the vintage one because it's got the chunk underneath between the treads of the arms of Cup, but I didn't compare it to the original one. It feels a little bit smaller, maybe. I'm not sure proportionately if it's the same size, but it looks pretty good. It hides the Autobot parts pretty well, other than if you look in the back here where you go to toe, then you can start to see the Transformer chunks there. I like that it's got the subtle Autobots logo on the front. It's got a few silver panels there, just to kind of give it a new look and a little bit more distinctive look. It says Sergeant Slaughter on the side of it, and it's got a KDP 3 deco. I'm not sure if that's the same call number that was on the previous one. Kind of makes me think of Cup, especially if it was KUP instead of KDP. But it looks pretty good. I like having it. Overall, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, the vehicle is a little frustrating. It's making me double guess myself about opening the other ones, although I do want to get the O-ring figures out of them eventually. So overall, in the comments down below, let me know what your favorite thing I opened was. Is there anything on this list that you wish you had picked up? Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so. If you want to support the channel further, consider joining us on Patreon. We just released a bonus video about stuff I found at the flea market a couple weeks ago. Thanks so much for hanging on the peg with me.